What is good, guys? It's Rey-Jay back with another video, and in this one, I'm going to be breaking down what's going on with SPY and Tesla and the QQQ and many tickers out there. I'm going to talk about why tomorrow is going to be an absolutely massive day as we have the FOMC meeting and Jerome Powell speaking. I'm going to break down how this may affect the market moving forward and what levels you should be watching for. And before I break down about all this information, before I get into any more details, let me just mention a couple of things before starting. Firstly, I am not a financial planner. Make sure you take none of this as financial advice whatsoever. And also, if you guys can, please smash the like button if you want to see more videos like this. It not only benefits me, it benefits the entire community as a whole. And finally, don't forget about the Moomoo link, which is down below and in the description. If you sign up for Moomoo and put in $100 into the account, you are guaranteed 5 free stocks with a $100 cash reward. The offer ends in just a couple of weeks. Check it out before they run out. With that out of the way, let's get on with the video. All right, guys, so we had a very interesting day again. SPY was up 0.66% for the day. It's a little bit green in the after hours, and overall the market held up quite nicely. Now, why did the market pump the way it did is the question, and the reason for that is because CPI came out and it was a pretty decent report. CPI was at about 4% overall, just below expectations, and core CPI was at 5.3%. Now, I broke down more specific details about this in the morning, so if you want more details about all of these numbers, you could go to my morning video, but I want to focus more on tomorrow instead, because tomorrow is going to be even bigger than today. So the data was pretty decent. Core was as expected, and CPI itself, that's including food and energy, was lower than expected. Energy helped to drive it down because it is weighted in there a lot more. Now, as that happened, the overall market continued to rally and looked very bullish in the pre-market, and that's why it continued to pump. I called this out in the morning. The market continued to hold up. And then I told you guys that at this point, yes, it's very awesome to see the technicals looking bullish, but we have to be careful because PPI is coming out tomorrow morning. PPI is the producer price index. It's like CPI except for the producer side. And this is going to be important because the market is going to respond in the morning, 1 hour before the market opens. That's when the data comes out. If PPI is hot year over year, we're looking for 3.2% for core and 2.3% for just PPI itself. We want that. We want these numbers to be as expected, and the market could continue to hold. But if they're a little bit hot, this may cool down the markets, may cause the markets to pull back a bit. So watch out for this in the morning. But then after this, something huge is coming. That's going to be the FOMC period. Now, first at 2 o'clock p.m., okay, that's Eastern time, 2 o'clock p.m. Eastern time, we have the interest rate hike decision. That's going to be huge. The market's going to react to this. Then at 2:30 p.m., we have the Fed press conference when Jerome Powell is going to be speaking. This is going to be huge. If the Fed pauses, the market's going to rally. If the Fed does not pause, the market's going to get rug pulled. So you have to be ready for this. It's going to be huge. Now, right now, the news headlines are coming out that the market is rising after the inflationary report, and the market is now reaching new highs for over the past year. Once again, good news, but other people are now saying that the Fed is going to cause some pain right now. You have to be ready for it. There are lots of mixed opinions. We'll just have to wait and see. The stock market is expecting the Fed to pause. There's a 91% chance the Fed pauses, according to the markets, based off what they're pricing in, and a 9.2% chance, almost 10% chance, that the Fed is going to continue to raise rates. If we get this unlikely probability, market gets rug pulled. We're going to see the market come down. If we get this probability, the more likely probability, and the market just continues to see the Fed pause on the rate hikes, it's going to make all the headlines, and the market's going to explode to the upside. It's going to rally very hard. And now let's talk about which levels specifically. So if you trade SPY, I know the most popular ticker, or one of the most popular tickers I talk about on this channel would be like SPY alongside like Tesla. And that's why I talk the most about SPY. On SPY, okay, if they pause on the rate hikes, this thing will eventually, it may not happen immediately, but over the next, week or so, next couple of weeks, it's going to push all the way up to 442. That's going to be the next major resistance. There's some resistance at 440, but this is going to be like the more pivotal resistances. Now, between these levels, we have more resistances, obviously, like at 438 and etc., but those are not as significant as these two. This is going to be significant. I predict we're going to see 442 if they pause. And if we break this 442 resistance, we're going to be well on our way to about 450. 450 will be the next major level alongside 454. These are very important levels. The four most important levels I could think of to the upside for SPY. And imagine we do rip that hard. There's no sign of major weakness from a technical side. We just need confirmation from the Fed, and we could see that. Now, if the Fed ends up doing the unthinkable and they rug pull the markets, okay? If they raise the rates again, SPY is going to get rug pulled and make its way all the way back down to these lower levels, back down to the 420s, even lower than that, into like the 409 area. It could just start downtrending very, very hard because the market's just going to, once again, panic about it, because this could be very painful for a lot of banks, and the severity of the recession is just going to get worse. So we'll wait and see what happens. I'm just warning you guys about that. Now, anyways, let's talk about the smaller levels. So I mentioned the bigger levels on SPY. I mean, we have some resistance now around this 438 zone. I mean, if we break this, then obviously there's 440, then 442. This is going to be one of the most important resistance levels. Let's just make this a little bit bigger just to, show you and enunciate how big that's going to be. And then after that, we have 450 being the next major level, but there's going to be some resistance like 443, 445, and etc. If we come down, if we just start downtrending just for tomorrow in the morning, 436.25, 435 are going to be major supports alongside many different levels. I mean, we could just go on about them a little bit afterwards. You're also going to be watching a lot of your EMAs as support on different time frames. Then we have the 430s and then 433 being major support, where the 50 is on the hourly time frame. I don't know which way it's going to go. I can't predict it. I'm hoping we get a pause, and I think it's more probable, but I don't know for sure. So I'm open-minded, and we'll see what the Fed actually does. All right, guys. For GME, this thing continued to pump. It started to pump a lot because we got some good news involving Ryan Cohen, and on top of that, a lot of money is now transitioning away from tech into consumer discretionaries, not consumer discretionary, sorry, into the Russell 2000 and many of these mid caps. So that's a pretty decent sign. And there's a good chance that we could see the market continue to help GME and AMC and many of these stocks pump. GameStop could reach 30 a share if we continue to see the market pump thanks to the Fed pause. If the Fed raises rates more, GME is going to be back into the low 20s, if not 19 level, if we get a rug pull. AMD, if this thing starts pumping even harder, if we get a Fed pause, AMD is going to likely make its way closer to $130. If not, it's going to come all the way back down to 120 or lower than that, back to like the 115 area. For Tesla, if we get the Fed pause tomorrow, okay, Tesla has the potential to push much higher into the 270 to 275 area. If it breaks 275, there's some resistance between 275 to 276. If it breaks that, we're going to see it get likely closer to like 290 to 300 if it continues to break out very hard. But we have to watch it break like the 275 zone first. If Tesla does not, like what it's seeing, and the Fed just continues to raise rates, Tesla's going to come all the way back down to 250, break below that into the 240s or even lower than that. All right, just warning you guys, a big move is coming. In the morning, we might see Tesla react to PPI. I don't know what's going to cause. That's why you have to watch support and resistance. We have major resistance at 260 and then 262.5. Break this zone, then we could see this thing get closer to 265, then potentially 266. If Tesla comes down, you're going to be watching this thing get closer to 257. Well, first off, 260 is going to be support since we are up in the after hours. But then after that comes 257.65. Then we have 255.7, 254.26, and just many other levels like that. For now, we're just going to watch these very, very carefully. And if anything is looking pretty strong for now, we'll see what happens. Just get ready for tomorrow. Let me also add, I forgot to mention one more thing on SPY. Now, if you ignore what's going on with the Fed and you just look at the technicals, the 4 hours still looks bullish. The daily still looks bullish on the MACD. A little bit overbought though. Weekly is bullish. Monthly is bullish. It's about to get a bullish cross on the monthly. Everything looks bullish on SPY. There's no sign of weakness on the chart. Let me just clarify that. The market still looks strong. There's no true indication of us getting a rug pull yet. It all depends on CPI at this point. If we ignore CPI, the technicals look very strong. Did I say CPI? I meant FOMC. Sorry, guys. FOMC. FOMC matters the most, and we'll see what happens. I just wanted to clarify that. Same thing could be said about Tesla. That's why I brought this up. Tesla looks very strong from a technical standpoint. The hourly, the daily, and the list goes on. It looks very strong. It will continue to pump if the Fed allows it. But if the Fed comes in and they put their hand down and they smack the market down with another rate hike, expect a rug pull. What stock was I talking about for the last couple of weeks? last week and a half, I told you NEO was looking bullish. Do you guys remember that? I told you we had an inverse head and shoulders like formation, very, very nice accumulation structure. And lo and behold, NEO is up over 30% since I called it out. It used to be around the sevens. Now it just touched $9. NEO is going to continue, get closer to 10 if we get a Fed pause. If not, it's going to be well on its way to the low eights, if not even 7 again, if we get a rug pull. Netflix is continuing to remain bullish. It actually broke this resistance at 430. The level I was watching was this 440 area. It could even go all the way up to like $450 a share if we get the pause and the market continues to rally. If not, Netflix is going to come all the way back down to this imbalance zone right here at this 425. Then we have this other level at 416 as support. It could get a big rug pull. Another imbalance is in the lower 400s. That could happen if the Fed raises rates. For forward, if the Fed continues to help it out, it has a bullish triangle structure, could make its way closer to this 14.5 to 15 level if the Fed gives us a pause. If not, it's going to be back into the 13.64, the $13 flat area. For the QQQ, if we get the pause, it's going to likely continue to pump, and over the next few weeks, we could see it get closer to 370 or even higher than that. If the Fed does not pause and they give us a rate hike, the QQQ is going to get rug pulled all the way back below 350, in my opinion. AMC stock is starting to hold up. HYG is also green. AMC is going to push up closer to 5.5 if we get a pause. I think it's going to slowly uptrend even more. If not, it could get a rug pull, a big rug pull all the way back down to the low fours if they don't give us the pause. HYG is holding up. We're starting to see lots of optimism from the bonds traders. That's a good sign. NASDAQ reached my target of 13,500. It has another potential bullish triangle structure developing. If the NASDAQ gets what it wants, it's going to make its way close to 13,750. If we get the pause, if no pause comes, we're going to get rug pulled and come down to start filling these gaps back down closer to the 50 EMA to 13,300 or even lower than that into the very flat 13,000 range or lower. SPX is going to reach 40, I think it's 4420 if we get a pause. And if it breaks that, 4,500 could come. If there's no pause and they give us another rate hike, SPX is going to come down to fill this gap all the way down to the 430s, then the 420s. Did I say 420s? 4,200. Sorry, guys. 4,200s basically is going to come. It's going to get a big rug pull. I'm not too worried about the VIX and SQQQ and dollar right now. The dollar's a little bit down, but it's indecisive. Coinbase, I told you guys this thing is starting to look a little bit better, but we need confirmation. If we get a very bullish outcome tomorrow, Coinbase could fly and try to make its way up closer to the 50 and then the 200 EMA after that, around this 55 to 56 level. If not, if we get a rug pull, it's going to come down below 50 into the 45 level. If Aapl is bullish tomorrow, I know Apple's getting hit with some very, very strong resistance. It could retest 185 and try to break its high if we get a very, very bullish move, a very bullish reaction, but it has to break 185. And then after that, it's just new waters from there. We're just going to be looking at previous psychological levels, basically, and we're just going to have to watch for the new levels that come. I would presume that there's going to be resistance again at 186. And you're going to be watching maybe 187.5 after that as the next psychological level. I really can't chart it based off the past because you have to remember it's going to be hitting new highs if it does break this 185 level. So Apple looks very good. The chart is still holding up, guys. It's not looking that bad. It's only down 0.26%. Nothing too bad. In my opinion, it has potential, but we have to wait and see if we get confirmation from the Fed. If we don't get confirmation, it's going to come down to 180, then the 175 area, and even lower than that. Could break down to the potentially very high 160s if we get a big rug pull by the Fed. For Nvda, if the Fed helps this thing pump, it's going to make its way closer to about this 420 area. If it breaks that, it could keep going. Might try to get to that 425 to 430 area. If the Fed rug pulls it, it's going to come all the way back down into the mid 400 flat area, then break below that and come all the way back down to this 200 into the 380s or lower than that and just continue dropping if the Fed rug pulls. If the Fed pumps the markets, Google could make its way up to this imbalance closer to this 128 level. If not, it's going to come down to 122, then potentially below 120. If Amazon gets a pump thanks to the Fed, watch this thing get closer to about 130. If not, it's going to come all the way back down to 121 and potentially 120 or lower than that. For Meta, if it's bullish, thanks to the Fed, there's a potential cup and handle forming, so it's very possible technicals are, in a way, favoring that. If it pumps, we're going to be watching 276 as resistance. If it breaks that, watch 280 plus on Meta. This thing could go flying. If not, if we get a rug pull, it's going to come all the way down to these support zones. We have 269 as support. Obviously, that's not going to hold. If we get a big rug pull, there's going to be 265, 264.9, 258, and then potentially even 250 flat if we get a big rug pull by the Fed. So honestly, guys, I wish I was a fortune teller. I wish I had the answers. I wish I knew what was going to happen. I wish I did. I know we're going to go one of the directions, and it all depends on what Jerome Powell and the Fed say. We have a bullish structure developing on SPY, so there's a good chance it may continue to try to pump, but technicals alone are not sufficient, and you have to watch out for more confirmation. All right, guys. So with that said, I want to just thank you all so much for listening. Get ready for tomorrow. It's going to be a massive day. I also have some merch for you guys if you want to buy anything from a tank top to a hoodie. And I'll see you guys tomorrow. It's going to be a big day, so get ready for Jerome Powell, get ready for the Fed, and get your popcorn ready. The market to the moon as the long term is very bright, and peace out.